Good evening, everybody. It's Sunday night here in the potting shed again. How are we all doing? I know that as I faded into that, I had that look of that, and that's a interesting thing to note. How are we all doing anyway? Sunday night, we've had some beautiful weather, and I tell you what, more importantly, I've noticed is everything has now started to really grow. Fantastic. At last, the weather's here, the rain's here, the moisture's here. All guns are blazing. So what we're going to be talking about a bit later on is I'm going to be asking you for your time-saving tips. But we'll come to that in just a moment. Firstly, let's have a look and see if anybody's joined out in the comments land. And I can already see there are lots and lots of comments coming in. So Ian Beddoes has joined. Good evening to you. Oracle is asking if everyone's had a wonderful day on your allotment. I certainly have. I'll come to that in just a moment. Ballycillian has joined, and he is saying everything is starting to grow at long last. Absolutely. Adrian has joined. Hello to you. Turbo Stream is saying good evening from now sunny Birmingham. Good. Jen's Allotment Adventures. How's everyone's Sunday been? Make sure you thumbs up the video for Rich. Yes, please do thumbs up, like, subscribe, whatever platform you're on, and don't forget to hit the notification. Just realised my hair's a bit of a mess. The notification to let you know whenever I go live. Although, to be honest, I always go live at Sundays at 6, except for last weekend. Who else have we got out there? We've got Nigel Muddy Boots. Good evening to you. Stuart Jackson. Good evening to you. Hope you are well. I'm very well, thank you. Beatrice has joined. Hello to you. I've just skipped right past it. Digwell Greenfingers is in the house. Little Steve House, as he says. Fantastic. We're going to have to come up with a little jingle for that, I think. Stuart Jackson is saying you look very hot again this week. I've been working a lot, hell of a lot this week. Weather gets hot, my work gets incredibly busy. So yeah, I'll come to that in just a moment. Amanda Joy has joined. Hello to you. Turbo Stream, not much rain here this week. We only had one full day of rain. The rest of it was pretty good. Nui99, good evening to you. Richard Golden has joined. Hello to you. He's let us know who he is because he's probably watching in the Facebook group. If you are watching in the Facebook group, please let me know who you are because the way Facebook works, I may not always see it. Nigel is coming up with another nickname. How can you dig well if you are no dig? Interesting question. A little play on names going on there. Jen's Allotment Adventures. I have a new garden Bible. I brought the Halligan Vegetable Bible. It's all the varieties they grow along now with all the suppliers. Fantastic. I'm going to have to check out that book, and I'm also going to have to check out Halligan Gardens. It's on my wish list of places to visit, my bucket list, if you like. I'll come to that in just a moment. Dad's joined. Good evening to you. Hayley Davis has joined. Hello to you. Beautiful day. Absolutely beautiful day. Absolutely. So fantastic. So have I got a banner for... There we go. What gardening jobs have you tackled this weekend? So I want to say during this week, actually, work has been incredibly busy. I had Monday off on bank holiday, but since then the weather's warmed up. It has been mental. A lot of late nights and not enough gardening in my eyes. I'm lucky one of my colleagues has actually been working till midnight every night, but I've basically too late to do anything by the time I get home. It's annoying, but made up for it. Well, I want to say I made up for it this weekend. I've been on call, and I'm still on call, so I could get called out any minute. Yesterday, I got called out to a site 2 hours away and spent a while fixing a fridge there. I'll put it like that, which meant I didn't have much time even yesterday here in the garden. But what I have been doing, I've been picking strawberries from my greenhouse. We're getting some really nice early strawberries, absolutely delicious, really nice and sweet. But my outdoor ones are starting to grow as well and starting to produce strawberries. They're just waiting for them to ripen. So I've put a load of straw underneath all my strawberries. I have used my biochar in some pots I've got just outside, testing tomatoes and seeing how they compare with biochar, brick dust, and peat-free compost. Today I went down the allotment. I went down early because I wanted to make sure I got something done in case I got called out. Weeds were high. Weeds hadn't been down there since Monday. The warm weather, the really Friday we had a lot of rain, and I think those two combinations has really made everything grow really, really harsh. The weeds were high. I hadn't cut the lawn. I've got all that to do. So I ended up trimming lots, cutting the lawn, clearing out lots of weeds. I wanted to get my strawberries and my pumpkins in, and I didn't quite manage that. So that's something I'm going to try and do during this week. This week I'm going to pop to the allotment every night again, like I should do. Now, this was why I'm asking for your time-saving tips, but we'll come to that in just a moment. Let's see what everybody else has been up to. I saw Turbo Stream. This week, I've mostly been weeding and watering on the plot. Yeah, I think that's something we all seem to do. What's Ian Beddoe saying? Hi, Stuart. I spent yesterday pricking out my marigolds and Elysium plants after you showed me how to do it on Wednesday. Oh, there you go. That was another live show that went on Wednesday. I know who it was. Stuart Jackson, it's nice to see all my plants moving after this sunshine. Thanks for the Supporters Club seeds this week. You're welcome. Any supporters out there, I'm sorry the seeds had a bit of a delay getting out. I sent them last Thursday, but my postbox, the postman snapped the key in the lock, and I didn't know about this until earlier this week when I noticed we were having difficulties. So, yeah, they were a bit late getting out, I'm afraid to say, but glad you got them, and certainly plenty to keep you busy. Digwell is saying, I've just this minute finished my successional sowing of spring onions, lettuce, etc. Digwell, this is something that I do quite often, actually. Every few weeks, I like to sow lettuce or salad leaf and spring onions. How often do you sow your lettuce or your spring onions successionally? I do it every 3 weeks now, give or take, and I find that's plenty. What else? Oracle is saying, hardest job is trying to get my wife to work instead of talking. I have had trouble. I'm always talking, but that's the joy of being a podcaster or a live show host like this. Jen, definitely check it out. This is talking about Heligan Gardens. I'm currently obsessed with the Heligan story, how it was discovered and the planting plans. You can get the book secondhand on Amazon. I really do want to go and visit that. I think, where did I see it? I think Nigel said he visited it 10 years ago as well. Talking of Nigel, planted out my outdoor tomatoes, runner and French beans, a lot of salad crops, and done its weeding. And done lots, I don't know, part of the thing I can't see. Yeah, so planting out at the moment, it seems like everybody is doing in their drives. It feels good though, doesn't it, to finally get plants in the ground. I was getting a bit fed up of constantly potting plants up and just not getting them in the ground. Now they're going in the ground. I feel like fantastic. At last, we're getting there. Now, lots of tomatoes, lots of beans, everything's going into place. Amanda, I've not managed to get much done. I got bitten whilst on the plot Thursday, which unfortunately got infected, so I had to go steady with my ankle and leg are swollen. Ouch. Ouch, poor you. I hope that's nothing too serious. What bit you? Do you know? She goes on to say she has managed to get sunflowers out though. Ian Beddoes planted lavender and grasses tonight. We brought at Gardener's World. Lots of crikey. I've just seen saying lots and lots of comments coming in. Sorry if I missed anybody's comments, but I'll try my hardest. Hayley's saying she signed up for her first allotment plot. Lots of work to get it ready, but it's very exciting. Got my seeds yesterday. Oh God, that's taken over a week to get you. I apologise, Hayley, but at least you've got your first allotment plot. Your seeds are going to help with that. I think anybody with a new allotment plot, don't rush to get everything planted. Get it ready. Get it ready first is my top tip. Now, I asked Digwell how often he successionally sows earlier, and like me, he says every 3 weeks or so. So, yeah, we're in good company with that. Jen goes on to say, still haven't got the hang of successional sowing. LOL. Well, I don't know if Digwell will back me up on this. I just find by sort of saying every 3 weeks I'm going to sow a few seeds, it just works. It just works so easy. I used to do it every month. On the first of every month I would sow, but I've decided to sow a few less but more often in order to suit our lifestyle. Nigel is also saying check out Heligan books by Tim Smith. I have to check that one out, certainly. What's Ian asking? Anyone a member of the RHS, and is it worth the money? Thinking of joining to visit some gardens. I'm not a member, but I visit a lot of the RHS gardens. I used to be an English Heritage member. I gave that up, but I'm not a member of the RHS, but I've considered it. Let's see if anybody else out there is a member. Amanda, I think it was an insect. Luckily, the antibiotics seem to be kicking in already, and hopefully we'll be back in action soon. Fantastic. Fantastic. Can't wait to see everything comes back for you, Amanda. By the way, if anybody's got a YouTube or a Instagram channel out there, please feel free to give yourself a mention or anything like that. I know Amanda has a Instagram account. I forget the name of it off the top of my head, but it's well worth. Please do go check her out, and let's keep this community pulling together. So we'll come back to that in a moment. So yeah, it sounds like everyone's been very, very busy on their plots this weekend. It's nice to get this nice warm weather, but this is where I also want to ask today if you can share your gardening time saving tips. I could have probably worded that a bit better, but never mind. The reason I'm asking that is all of a sudden I've suddenly became incredibly busy at work, and I'll be honest, I don't want to be at work. I want to be down. I'd rather be down on the allotment, right? But I've got to pay the bills somehow. When I went down the allotment today, it just felt like all my last few weeks' work has been undone. Now, usually I have this rule where I try and spend 20 minutes at least every day on the allotment on the way home, just do a bit of weeding, bit of watering, and that has helped me keep on top of things up until now. This week, that just went completely out the window. Like I say, work gets in the way. I think my dad's watching. He'll probably remember the long hours that we have to do in this job. I'm a refrigeration engineer by trade, and restaurants, everything opening up. Everything just goes mental at this time of year. And I'm just looking for things that might help save some time. Now, something that I did pretty successfully last year was using lawnmower clippings to mulch around all my beds, especially my potatoes. And this, I felt, helped reduce the amount of weeds that we had growing through. They did eventually come back through. It also mulched the soil and saved a lot of that moisture in the ground. The trouble I have at the moment is my petrol lawnmower that I have on the allotment has died again. I've got to strip it down and try and fix it. I'm actually seriously considering, after I finish this show, going to buy a battery lawnmower, because I find battery lawnmowers are just as good as petrol in some ways, but a lot more reliable. And the idea here is I just run around with that lawnmower, collect the grass, throw it on my potatoes, throw it around my onions, throw it around all my plants, and it'll mulch the soil. But what I'm also doing is I'm covering the beds with cardboard, and about 3 layers of cardboard, and then planting through that. And where I've already done that, it has worked quite well at maintaining or keeping the plants or the weeds reduced in this week that everything seems to have grown. So please do share your tips. Now, you can zap yourself in on the link that is going up in the comments right now. If you're in the Facebook group, you may not see it. Alternatively, you can call in with the phone line 07307 135 174. Number is across the bottom of the screen if you want to call in. Already I can see a few tips that coming in. So Digwell says, I try and follow, don't pot off until tomorrow that which you can do today. As Richard said, if you leave something, it will bite you later on. Yeah, I'm kind of kick myself for that statement, because I know quite often I find myself spending a lot late nights trying to catch up on stuff, and then I end up giving up and saying, oh, I'll finish it tomorrow. I'll get up early in the morning. It's the usual thing I say. I'm not a morning person, and I know if I say get up in the morning, it ain't going to happen. It's not going to happen. I won't get up early. Yeah. So actually I should, as Digwell says, don't put it off tomorrow what you can do today. Definitely stick with that. Turbo Stream. I used to watch Gardening Time with Cyril Fletcher of That's Life. All you young'uns won't know that program. No, I can't. I've never been one for watching much TV anyway, but that's not one I do remember. Now, Digwell is a member of the RHS. I joined to get in the posh food tent for Melbourne. The mag is worth the subscription. And Ian is saying that currently there's 25% off membership at the moment. So yeah, okay, that's a good thing. So Digwell, who is a member, is saying it's worth it just for the magazine alone, plus member entrance to the gardens, etc., and the shows. I believe you get things as well. Hayley has said, not a problem about the seeds. You helped me a lot over the last year. I now feel I can manage a plot myself. Fantastic. Please do share with us, Hayley, just how your plot is looking, how you're getting on with it. It'd be fantastic to see all the pictures and stuff and hear your story as always. Adrian, 40 years ago, I had a Webb 18-inch electric mower. It was useless. I've always been, this is a subject I was bringing about, I've always been a preferred petrol lawnmowers. Purely because I hate the leads, and then you run and put the lead up. I like the idea of just pulling your lawnmower out, run it, and off it goes. But over the years, I've ended up, I mean, I've stripped down engines and stuff before. I ended up spending more time trying to get the lawnmower started or a petrol strimmer started. Last year, I bought a battery chainsaw and a battery strimmer, and I've not regretted it since.
We have a phone call.
We have a phone call. Hello, caller. What's your name? I've done it again. Apologies. I don't know who that was. But every time I go to answer it, it suddenly goes. It was same as last week. We had the same thing. So apologies. If you are out there, please try and call again. What was I saying? Yeah, I've moved on to battery, and I found battery. As long as the battery's charged, get several batteries. It's just so much easier. Just pull it out and off you go. Amanda, now my plot is ticking over. I followed your advice of little and often and hoe every time I'm at the plot. It takes just 10 minutes now to nip around and get the new weeds out. Yeah, that's something. This is where I say I try and spend 20 minutes every day on my allotment. Not so much at home because the home plot looks after itself a bit better, but certainly my allotment, 20 minutes just on the way home from work, clear out a few weeds. It makes all the difference. It really does. And Amanda, as she said, 10 minutes to the hoe just to nip a few of the new weeds out. Turbo's topical time-saving tip has been pinched from Sean James Cameron. Do a little and do it often. It does work, which is exactly what Amanda was saying as well, and what I was saying too. What else have we got? What else? Jen's saying, I learned that from Rich as well in regards to weeding. Little and often, and when you do it, pull it, because next time it'll be worse. I'm paraphrasing, of course. Yeah. Definitely just get on top of it. I've somebody said to me recently, actually, I seem to spend a lot of time weeding, and I do spend a lot of time weeding, especially on the allotment. The couch grass is just a nightmare, and it's something that because I don't use weed killer, and I won't use weed killer, it's something I've got to find a way of reducing the amount of time that I spend weeding. Mulching does work. And the cardboard, I think from what I've seen, 3 layers of cardboard does seem to be working quite well, and then I can plant through that cardboard. I used to use that black weed suppressing membrane that quite often sold in garden centres, but what I found with that, when it's new it's fine, but when it starts to fray, it can get tangled in strimmers and stuff, and then it causes no end of problems. My neighbours actually one winter had it blow from their plot all over mine, got caught in my gooseberry bushes, and it's still all wrapped up in my gooseberry bushes now, which is why I've slowly found myself pulling away from that sort of weed suppressing membrane. Adrian is saying the Webb 18-inch electric mower has a car battery in it. That must have been a really heavy one. I haven't got it yet. The lawnmower I'm looking at is the Ryobi 18-volt one, lithium-ion battery. Reason I'm going for that is because I've already got the strimmer, the chainsaw, the angle grinder, the impact driver, all run off that same battery. And what I love about it, like the chainsaw, I just need sometimes just saying quickly, just click, along, done. And Digwell is saying the same sort of thing. Battery is the way to go. New technology ones last for ages. My strimmer runs for an hour. Yeah, I mean, I find 2 batteries are generally enough. I mean, what I try and do, I have take a battery to work with me to run my drills and stuff, and then when I go down the allotment, I just finish it off, run that battery down, just doing a bit of strimming. Now, Turbo Stream, when I go to the plot, I aim to do a small area. Then if I have time, I do a bit more. That's another time-saving tip there, I think. Yeah, aim to do a small area, and if you get it done quicker, do a little bit more. Oracle is saying battery seems to be the way forward. See a battery chainsaw, which I never thought would have happened, but technology has removed that fast. Yeah, I think this is the way battery cars are going to be the next thing. But the way I'm seeing it with years and years ago, when I still lived with my parents, we did have a battery strimmer, and it wasn't very good. This is going back probably 20 years ago. Back then, you lost a charger, you couldn't strim. You lost, it didn't have a separate battery then. This day, and where I And my advice, if you are looking at battery lawnmower, get one where the battery works in several tools. You may have to buy the battery and a battery charger separately, but you're less likely to lose it, and you can use it in multiple tools. TurboStream also have divided the plot into small sections that are easier to manage. It seems less daunting then. Yeah, and this is the tip, TurboStream's tip for time-saving moves. Divide it into smaller sections. As you no doubt know, my allotment and my home garden, I garden in raised beds. And the reason I do that, well, there's several reasons, but the thing I can say is that one day I would say I'm just going to concentrate on beds A and B, clear all the weeds out of that. Next day it'll be beds C and D, so on. It does really focus your mind. You've only got to worry about that one bed and then move on. Most of my time is weeding because, like you, I don't use weed killer, and because of the wildlife. I had my mother-in-law out of using weed killer today because the bees were loving the flowers. I agree. Weeds are, in the days of past when weed killer was used, you know, we didn't think of these problems. Now I don't use it. I really don't want to use it. But I do think there is a place for weed killer. I'm not going to say be completely against it. But when it's overused, I think is where the problems come in. Nigel is saying that excess weeds are often caused by watering every inch of soil rather than just around the plant. Now, that's a very, very good point and very, very well noted. So if you want to save some time on weeding, as well as saving time on watering, just water the plants where it needs it. I can't. TurboStream is also agreeing with that. I'm only watering the veg plant, not the weeds. And that, yeah. I mean, I used to years ago, or I've still got them, the old things that you would screw into bottles, stick them in the ground, cut the bottom off the bottle, and then pour water into that. So all the water would then go to the roots of the plants that you want to water. They looked ugly, but they did serve a really good purpose. And again, this is tallying up with what Nigel is saying. Just water the plants, not the weeds. Just water where you need it. Ian Bellows is asking Nigel, have you found a way to divert the rain? That's something you just have to live with. It's just rain, isn't it? You can't control it. But in the middle of summer, July, August, when we don't get much rain, you know, focus on your plants. Jen's Allotments, the only issue I can see if companies retire certain battery types and you end up with a string and a battery that does not fit. Hubby has had that trouble with his drills. Yeah, that is a good point. But what I've noticed is there are other companies that certainly with Ryobi, that make this similar battery or battery that fits. So you can go through third-party organizations in order to get a battery. There's something to consider when it comes to buying them, though. Ian Bellows is saying, what do you think of vinegar as a weed killer? This is something he actually asked in the group just the other day. And I've not tried it myself, in all honesty. I can see it would work. It's just not... I would be more comfortable using vinegar as a weed killer than a proper weed killer, shall we say. Vinegar is a natural substance, but it is highly acidic, and if there are any wildlife or any plants on there, it is possibly going to do some damage to them as well. That being said, we do feed our chickens occasionally a bit of cider vinegar for their own health. So, yeah, it'd probably be okay if you can get vinegar cheap enough, that is, for you to feel it's worth doing that. Nigel was backing me up with what I was saying. Look for third-party companies that clone batteries. Digwell, I use weed killer at the start of a season where needed before the perennials grow too big. Not a lot low. I know a lot of people do use weed killer, and I'll never have a go at anybody for using weed killer. I think there is definitely a place for weed killer, but I personally prefer not to use it unless I really, really have to. Now, when I say I feel there's a place for weed killer, years and years ago, when I was in a gardening forum, long before I started the podcast, I was having a conversation with somebody who had trouble with bamboo. They were an American couple. They built a garden really wildlife friendly, but they had this bamboo and it was attacking their house, shall we say. It was running up against their house and they wanted to find a way to get rid of it. And I said, in that circumstance, because it's going to their house, use a weed killer. They did do it. 6 months later, they came back to me and said they wished they had used a weed killer because the bamboo had destroyed the foundations on their house and their neighbour's house, and therefore all their work had to be undone. There is a place for weed killer, is what I'm saying. I just don't like the excess use and what it can do. Ernie has joined. Good evening to you. He's out there cutting the grass. What are you using to cut the grass? Is a conversation, one of our side conversations that we have going on. Are you using battery, petrol, or electric? Digwell is saying to Ian that vinegar works. So there you go. Turbo Stream. I have a long reach hedge trimmer with a Duff battery. Struggling to find a replacement battery. It was a cheap make though. Yeah, I mean, I know in the past I've brought some cheap make drills. I tend to use drills quite a lot, and I can't get replacement batteries for those, so I've thrown those away. But something I did do when I looked at investing in the Ryobi ones is look at the third party and just how easy it is to get other drills or other batteries for that particular battery. And so I did my research first, and that's certainly the case with Ryobi, and I'm sure is it G-Tech or some of the other ones out there. You can also get third party batteries, which are probably about considerably cheaper. I reckon 50% cheaper on average from what I've seen, at least the third party ones. Worth looking at and worth just investigating before you make the investment. Ian Beddoes is saying he tried the vinegar on the patio and it has worked well, so we'll do the drive next week. Yeah, interesting. This is something my wife is always on at me about our drive and how we should use weed killer on that, but I refuse to. But if vinegar is working, then I'll give that a try. Jen, slightly off topic. Do you give the chickens grit? Do they have it in their food? We noticed a lot of garden birds collecting it, and we were wondering if something to do with their egg production. So yeah. So chickens don't have teeth. So when they eat corn and stuff, they store it in their crop, where a bit of grit in there basically acts like sandpaper and grinds down all their food. So we do give our chickens grit. And what I do is I hang up a little a treat stick, they called it. It got corn. It's a block that just hangs in there. There's grit, there's corn, and they have to peck at it. They have to work for it. It gives them a bit of entertainment, and that's where they get their grit. They also find grit when they're rummaging around the soil in which they can eat, or if you're keeping birds in an aviary, a little pot of grit from a bird shop, pet shop. Cheap as chips, really. Very cheap to buy, worth having. It does do them some good. I also like to add like a apple cider vinegar occasionally to the water, which again helps with their digestion. So yeah, if you are thinking about chickens, something to think about. Digwell, a lot of battery tools use very similar batteries but have different sets of lugs on them. Just file them off. You can actually, or I've seen videos on YouTube of people who have basically taken apart this shell of the battery, the outer, and on the inside you get cells of batteries which look a bit like your standard AA batteries. You might actually find a way to replace those batteries on the inside, excuse me, if you know what you're doing, that is. Again, something else to think about. Toby Stream, I have a work strimmer, so excuse me. So I'm going to buy a Works hedge trimmer with the same batteries. Yeah, Works is also a very good one. I probably should mention them because they sponsor another podcast on another show. Not that I'm after sponsors, but when he listens back to this, he'll have a chuckle. Ernie, hi Richard. I used a petrol mower, a Hater Harriet 4L. I use the cut-in for mulch eventually. So there you go. Petrol. I mean, petrol. I still do like petrol, partly because I do like tinkering with engines and stuff. Stuart Jackson. I have a battery strimmer but electric mower. Had a battery mower before, but it only lasted about 45 minutes on one charge. So when it needed replacing, I went for electric just so I could finish the lawn in one hit. Yeah, this is why I say if you make sure you can get two batteries, then pretty much, I mean, my batteries, depending, I've got a 1 amp one, a 2 amp hour, a 1 amp hour or a 2 amp hour, and I could get a 5 amp hour. I mean, that's generally, I find, enough for what I need. On the note of batteries, I just mentioned about watching a YouTube channel or YouTube about changing the battery cells. Digwell has quite rightly pointed out, don't try that with lithium-ion batteries. There is, I believe, I don't think they've got quite the same cells. It does depend on the make, but don't try it just unless you know what you're doing. I think I said that anyway. Lithium-ion is very different. I'll tell you what, let's have a look. Let's get rid of this banner quickly. Let's have a look at some photos that have came in to our various places. Oh, hang on. We'll start with this one. You can probably guess who this was. Ian Beddoes. He's always a practical joker in the group, sharing these little photos. Now, Philly has sent me these photos. These first two are from Tuesday. And as you can see, pretty small plants there at the moment. And also from Tuesday, looking nice, very neat, tidy, organised plot. And then today, that same bed has almost quadrupled in size in terms of foliage. Look at it, it's just grown like mad. He's also shared away these photos of, I can't work out if they're kale or, I think they're kale in little pots alongside his greenhouse. Brassicas under netting, of course, being looked after. And potatoes. Potatoes are looking incredibly green at the moment. I've noticed that on my plots, the potatoes really have shot on in growth. This looked to me, I think it's asparagus, could be fennel, but I'm pretty sure it's asparagus. I don't know if this is the first, second or third or older year asparagus, but it's certainly looking like there's a lot of growth. It's certainly looking very, very healthy asparagus. Where's my notes? They've gone back to the beginning. I think this is Stuart Jackson. His photos here from his veg gardening. He's only just recently, well, last year started getting into veg gardening. And as you can see, broad beans, everything is flying off to a really good start. Well done, Stuart. And Stephen Ticehurst, he's shared his photo of a single radish. And he said, at the moment, his radishes are getting nice and big. This one was enough for both him and his wife. Nice peppery flavour, but not woody either. He's also shared this shot of his plot. I must get up there soon. Must get up and visit his plot again. It's certainly very tidy, but very, very small. And we're back to Ian Beddoes with his comedy as always. We'll come back to that. Don't forget, if you want to share your photos, you can send them to me by email, richard@theveggrowerpodcast.co.uk. You can share them in our Facebook group at the Veg Grower Podcast, or that's what it is on Facebook. You could message me on any social media. Just search for the Veg Grower Podcast, send me a message, send them to me. And if you want to send a video as well, that would be great. You have to do that by wetransfer.com. Just go there, enter your email address, enter my email address, which is richard@theveggrowerpodcast.co.uk, and upload it and send it to me. So, Ian Beddoes, I'll send you patio pics so you can see the after ones, even though I didn't take any before ones. Yeah, please do. It'd be great to see that, Ian, as always. I want to really work out. I've heard vinegar works, but it'd be good to see it for myself as well. Jen is asking, can you grow asparagus in pots? I guess logically you probably could grow asparagus in pots. The trouble with it is you've got to make sure that they do not dry out. Asparagus originates from a coastal place, so it's used to sort of getting a lot of water in one go, drying out, and then getting water again, or never really drying out, but water coming in and water coming out. Just make sure it doesn't dry out, and that's the trouble with pots. They are more prone to drying out. And also got to make sure you give them plenty of feeds. Chicken manure pellets is a pretty good one for asparagus. Another thing that people have suggested doing with asparagus, and I don't know if anybody out there has done this, but water it with salt water. I've not tried it myself, but I can imagine, again, being a coastal plant, asparagus would benefit from salt water. I do try and mulch my asparagus with seaweed. So, again, that coastal thing, it works. If you want to zap yourself in and appear on screen myself, I will add the link right now, or you can call in on 07307 135 174. Lots of keep that conversation going and chat and share with us your time-saving tips. Where is it? No, not that one. There we go. That one. Share with us your time-saving tips. And weirdly, we seem to be going petrol versus battery lawnmowers, trimmers, etc., etc. Now, next Sunday's show, back at 6 o'clock. Don't worry about that. But my wife is going to join me again. Amanda's going to join me again. I know she's very popular when she comes on. But what she's into her urban exploring, urbexing as it may be called. And she recently, I can't say where it is or anything, got to be a bit careful, but she found an abandoned nursery and there was so much waste left there. It was sickening when she showed me the photos. She's going to come on next week and we're going to go through some of those photos and discuss how wasteful this is. And I know of a few of them around here. As a bit of a heads up for next week, if you're interested in that, that's what to look forward to next week. I'm just going to have a swig of my coffee because it's throat time. Right, Turbo Street. An old neighbour of mine used to tip cheap table salt on weeds to kill them. That's where I was going with the asparagus as well, actually. By salt water would probably kill off any of the other weeds. This where I wondered if anybody has done that with their asparagus, if it has made a difference. It was my idea with the seaweed as well. I'm quite local to the beach here, which is why you often hear seagulls. But It doesn't seem to have worked so much with a seaweed, but I can see it would work if I'd done it in some great details. Or a huge amount of seaweed just mulched all over it. But I tend to, and this is probably where I go wrong thinking about it, try and wash all the salt off the seaweed before I lay it down. I probably need to leave all that salt water on it, on the asparagus bed at least, rather than clearing it away while I'm washing it and then throwing it down. Seaweed is actually really good. If you can make fertilizer from it, you can, if you have access to it, it's really good in the compost bin, really good as a mulch. It's just, it stinks. You've got to go and pick it and use it that very day. If you leave it, it stinks to high heaven. And it is horrible when it gets like that. But on a whole, you know, I mean, the beach is literally 10 minutes walk that way from me. I can be down there. I can finish this show. I can be down there and back within half an hour with a load of seaweed. Oh. Yeah, don't forget, please call in 07307135174. If that was you that called in earlier, please do try again. Nigel, I live 90 miles from the coast and we have a lot of gulls. Do you want them back? No. Gulls are, I don't know what they're like where you are, Nigel, but when they go off at 4 o'clock in the morning, the sun, just as the sun's light up and these seagulls are making this rah, 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 horrible noise, you can have them. They're annoying. And Turbo Stream, I like a bit of urbex exploring. Living in the big city, there is plenty to explore. For me, it's just a level of waste that goes on in these places that are abandoned. They're just such a wasteful, so wasteful. Jen's Allotment Adventures. I know a few gardens who don't wash the seaweed and it works wonders. It doesn't have the same content. Is that the same? The salt content, sorry. Everyone thinks. Also heard it's brilliant around brassicas and stops various root-eating pests. I know Jersey is quite well known for, obviously, its Jersey potatoes, and they put that down to the seaweed and the horse manure that they mulch on their potatoes, on their potato farms. And that's why they believe, whether it's true or not, I don't know, but that's why Jersey claims to get such good potatoes. Of course, Turbo Stream being in Birmingham doesn't get much seaweed there. There's plenty down here. Take a trip out to the sea after a storm, there'll be plenty washed up. Ian Pedos, is this going to be a joke? Biggest gardening time-saving tip is buy from the garden centre and plant it on. You know, I know a lot of gardeners will argue that that's not gardening, but I just think if it gets you growing a plant, it cannot be any harm. And you are right, it is a lot of time saved just doing that. I also say if it's your first year gardening, don't bother growing from seed. Buy a plant, learn how to look after that plant, and then learn how to grow from seed. So that, yeah, it is a time-saving tip. Adrian says his trouble is Canadian geese. Yep, otherwise known as ninja chickens, I've heard them called. Stuart Jackson, my local garden centre has always got lots of plants dying from lack of care. When I was young, they had a plantsman who repot plants that had gone over and kept the plants alive. But now profits come first. It's easy to throw plants that are past their prime. Yeah, I mean, my auntie, she sells a lot of plants for charity, a bit like what Stuart does. And my cousin, before he had an accident, used to have his own garden busy. And he had a show garden actually in a garden centre. my auntie would go and look after it for him. But while she was there, she would go rummaging in the bins. She had permission to do this from the garden centre and take away all the plants that basically were past her prime. Excuse me. She would take them away, look after them, pot them up, and give them a new lease of life, and then sell them for the charity that she works for, or she raised money for. It just amazes me that this level of, excuse me, sorry, I've drunk coffee too quick. This level of waste happens in such a bad way. I like to cycle around many miles of canals. They are an important wildlife corridor. Yeah, I mean, it's wildlife corridors are very, very, very important. I don't know if I'm the only person that gets like this, but I sometimes feel that gardening and wildlife are becoming more and more thrown in together. And not that I have any problem with wildlife and gardening being together, but I sometimes worry that the wildlife aspect becomes too overpowering on the actual gardening aspect. That's probably a debate for another day, but it's always worried me slightly, especially when I've gone to garden centres or events that are garden and then they're doing a lot of stuff for wildlife that I don't always see as being related to gardening. I could be wrong. That's my thoughts on it. Watched farmers take tractors onto the beach every morning when we were there. And this is obviously talking about Jersey. Yeah, the farmers take tractors onto the beach every morning to get their seaweed. There you go. And Digwell is saying he does it when he needs to as well. Takes tractors onto the beach. I'd love to drive a tractor again, actually. I haven't driven one for many, many years. And Ian goes on, supermarkets are the worst for that, creating or not really looking after plants, creating a lot more waste. Supermarkets are terrible for that, and it annoys the crap out of me. And I'm not apologising for using an over-the-top word because that's how passionate I feel about it. Get somebody in who actually wants to look after the plants and knows how to do it in the supermarket. It's not hard. You can train them for the other things, but if they like plants, get them in there. There will be someone, I can guarantee it. What else? Jen's saying some nurseries still do this. Plantsman Corner often shows in videos the best way to do this and to keep the plant at its best. Yes, the good old nurseries, they're few and far between these days where you can actually meet proper plants people who knew what their plants were, knew how to look after them, knew how to grow them. You can get advice from them. They're closing down. I know in my local area, I know of about 10 nurseries that have closed down in recent years. And this was before COVID, and that's really, really worrying. Like I say, next week we'll get these photos of one that closed down quite a while ago, this one, but the level of waste of what is still there is shocking. Digwell is saying that's because they are garden centres and not nurseries. When I worked in the nursery, we used to sow, grow and pot on, etc. Now, but it all from Holland. Yeah, they buy it all from Holland, stick it out. I mean, I can understand it. They just want to sell the plants, but just gone. Oh, yeah, I forgot to say this. No cooking this weekend, Richard. No. I was going to do some strawberry jam because we've had quite a bit of strawberry and I've got to make some jam. But as I said, because I've been on call and been out working this weekend and all throughout the week, just didn't have the time to knock up on a video in time for this. And that we'll try and do next week, which actually probably be better for the jam, give it a proper chance to marinate and settle down and everything. If anybody's made jam, It is one of the easiest things you can make. Jen's Allotment. I'm glad to say our local was bought and kept open with a younger owner, and he's doing a fab job. Funnily enough, when Amanda found this nursery, and she texted me from it and was like, "Do you want to buy it?" And I would. If we could afford to buy that nursery, it would need a lot of work. Unfortunately, no way we could afford it. There's just no way we could afford it. But if I could, I would. And I would do it as a proper nursery so people can come in, they can buy plants. Not going to buy handbags. You'll not find handbags in a nursery or garden centre that I would run. I'll put it like that. We would do that. I would also have classes for people who want to come and learn how to grow stuff and things like that, just to make it a bit more interactive. I'm sure I've discussed at length of my thoughts on certain garden centres, so I probably shouldn't get into it too much. Digwell has got to head off. Nice chatting to you. You take care. We'll speak to you again. We'll speak to you next week. Adrian says, I have a tractor which has sat in the barn for over 2 years. But it must be nice to have the space to store something like that, is all I've got to say. That's probably a bit jealous, I would say. Oh, gotta have a swig of coffee. So yeah, let's say if I had the money to buy this nursery that we'll look at next week, I would absolutely buy it, bring it back to a nursery, make it about plants. Now let's come back to gardening time-saving tips, because the one that we've seemed to have discussed quite a bit tonight is going over and doing little and often. By the way, we'll go to past again. We seem to be doing an hour and a half these days, so I'm with that for that. Time-saving tips. So little and often is definitely something that I've learned. I try and do, and it really does pay off. But something I've also learned as a bit of a time-saving tip is when I'm planting out plants, I measure my trowel. So let's try and find an example. Where is it? There we go. Here's my trowel. As you can see, it's well used. It's got quite a bit of dirt in it. Now, if I'm planting out garlic, I know I can plant garlic. Use this trowel as a measure. One bulb there and another one about here. That's about the right size. If I'm planting cabbage, I'll probably go that full length of the trowel. And if I'm doing tomatoes or something, 2 lengths of the trowel. Now, this is a way I have found of trying to, not so much time saving, I guess, but just being a bit more efficient. I haven't got to go grab a measure or go grab this and that to make sure. Just go by the size of that. That's one tip that I have learned over the years and want to share with everyone. Another tip that I have learned and want to share as well is when it comes to watering. Not everything needs watering every day, even if it's really, really hot, though you probably need to. So what I mean by that is I try and break down my allotment into different areas that I just water on that particular day. A bit like I was saying with the weeding, concentrate on one bed and then move on. That I've found to be a real good time-saving tip as well. Let's have a quick look at the comments again. Adrian is saying, Richard, you should have looked into it. Someone would have financed you. I mean, I've looked into this lad. I only found out about it yesterday. I've looked into it. I know they're trying to get planning permission to build 4 4-bedroom houses on it. So it's going to cost a lot of money to buy that land. especially I'm in the south UK. This is roughly north of Brighton. I can say that. So it is. I think what's it? An acre of land around here is about 100 grand, I think, on average. So I reckon you're looking about £1 million to buy that land. Amanda is saying, oddly, I was looking online at nurseries for sale the other day. They were between 7.5 and 1 million. Definitely couldn't afford that. Yeah, and this, I'm going to sound like somebody else who some of you may have heard. This is worrying because there's more money in selling the land to build on it than there is to create nurseries or businesses out of it. It's really, really worrying. Jen is saying, don't forget to thumbs up, everyone. Please do thumbs up, like, subscribe, click the bell notification. If you're on Facebook, click for something to get a notification to tell you when I go live. If I don't say that, I actually get told off from Facebook. Somehow they know. So in Meadows, if I go out, I might only do 5 minutes before sitting down for a while before doing a bit more. There's no shame in that. There's no shame in that. 5 minutes, do a bit more. If it works for you, it works for you. If I had more time in my life, I probably would do that as well. I mean that if I didn't have to go to work every day. Turbo Stream is saying, this year I made a planting stick from some pallet wood marked in 3-inch intervals. Yeah, I've known people to actually use their handle for their rake or their broom in the same way. They've made marks on it so that they can see or use that as a planting guide. Oh, great. But I've just found, for me, I've got a trowel. I've normally always got that down on the plot with me. I know I've measured it. I know that is the right size. Oracle, building houses, there's no way you would get it. No way at all. If they're planning to build four-bedroom houses, 4-bedroom houses in this area, you're looking about £500,000. They're going to be looking at selling, that's £2 million. What are they going to do? Yeah, it's a sad time. Adrian, then they don't want to sell as a garden centre. I've said this time and time before. The fact I've gone into a garden centre, they've removed their spades and forks, but we're selling handbags is a real gripe for me. I'll get onto a rant on that. I'll save myself. Turbo Stream. Oh, I thumbs up on the way in, thumbs down on the way out. Yeah, do what you want. Keep on top of the weeds in raised beds. Yeah, that's what we were saying right at the beginning of this conversation. Keep on top of it. Just do little and often, and 20 minutes every day. If you can get down to the allotment every day, that is. And this is that brings me up. Actually, I'm saying, somebody at the door. Hello.
Hello.
Oh, hello. We got somebody we were talking about. You.
Excuse me.
Oh, chicken's coming in. So Amanda's joined us in case you haven't guessed.
Yeah, because we have a slight issue.
What's the issue?
I can't get the car out.
Oh, right. You're going to have to wait.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Okay. So we were discussing actually next week and this nursery that you came across.
Yes, I did come across it. Yes.
Yes, and it was a bit wasteful, wasn't it?
Yes, exceptionally wasteful.
Exceptionally. Well,
Not happy.
Yeah. I don't. I want to save it for next week, so I won't get into it too much. Belly sitting. As long as you enjoy what you're doing on the allotment, you've done enough. Yeah. This Ian was saying he'd go and spend 5 minutes in his garden and then sit down for a bit, then do a bit more. That's all you can do, In fact, as long as you're enjoying yourself, and that's what it's all about, really. This is something gone really weird because I can see her behind me.
Sorry.
Ian Meadows, the field behind us sold for 2.4 million quid for housing.
Yes.
I mean, this is what I think, they're building these, from what I've seen, 4 houses. They're probably going to sell those at £500,000 each. 2 million quid. I mean, yeah, it's scary. It's scary. And Stuart Jackson is saying, calm down, Richard. Who mentioned garden centres? Yeah. I can go on a right rant about garden centres. It's a shame because I do like garden centres. I try and pop into them quite often. I just get annoyed. Handbags and no spades or forks. How is that a garden centre? How can you not sell spades and forks in a garden centre?
Yeah, but I think it's to get people in. And I think garden centres are now a bit like mini hypermarkets in some sense, because you've got the food, you've got the gardening, you've got the play area for the kids and the cafe. It's anything to make money to get the footfall, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I understand that. That's fine. Getting people in, I get that. But the garden centre in question was a little garden centre, to be fair. But there was no other garden centre in the immediate vicinity. So I pictured myself working on the allotment, 3:30 in the afternoon, my spade breaks and I need to get that plant in the ground. I know I can run down to that garden centre quickly and get a spade, and then they haven't got a bloody spade. That's how I see it. I just think it's yeah. Calm down.
Glad I'm going out now, people.
Is Amanda part of a group with your urbex in?
Not entirely.
Not entirely. You've got an Instagram channel, but we'll Instagram page. We'll discuss that next week when you're actually here to talk about that. Gardening should be enjoyable and relaxing. This is from Turbo Stream. Just do what you can and nature will do the rest. Yeah, I mean, it's very easy to get wrapped up thinking, oh, I haven't got time for this or time for that. Excuse me. Time for this and time for that. And then it becomes very, very stressful and almost overwhelming. But I do think sometimes, and I say this quite often, just sit down, get yourself a cup of coffee, sit down and look at your garden. See what you've done. See what you've got working for you. And enjoy it. It's not all about working on the plot. Ian Bellows went to our local garden centre yesterday, fantastically stocked and looked amazing. It's about the right time of year when they are generally pretty well stocked, within reason. There's still sometimes yeah. How would you cope with corrupt allotment committee members picking on folk for no real reasons? This is a very, very, very difficult one to try and work out. So if your allotment committee, and I have heard stories of allotment committee being bullies in other plots, it's not unheard of. So you've got to join the committee. You've got to try and vote the people who are corrupt out. It's a democracy in some ways. That's the way I can see through it. The other thing you can do is build up evidence, build up a case. If your allotment is owned by the council, go to them, show them what's going on, say this isn't right, and if they've got evidence, you put it down as victimization or something like that. What's the word I'm looking for? Discrimination. Don't try and make it more than what it is, of course. Try and be honest with it. But I have heard stories of allotment committee members being bullies. And at the end of the day, what I've got to remember, they need to encourage people onto the plots, because if everybody gave up their plots, the place would be full of weeds in no time at all. And that would not be good for the allotment itself. And also, if the allotment isn't being used to its fullest, the council can then say, well, it's not being used to its fullest. There's no demand for an allotment plot.
We'll shut it down.
We'll shut it down and we'll build houses on it. So, yeah, build up a case, take it to your council, but more importantly, I think what you've got to do is get in a committee and start voting the people in. Jen's allotment: a quarter of your national brand garden centre is food. Then another is candles, and gifts. The kids' toys, handbags, clothes, seeds are all stuffed in a corner. Don't get me started on how I hate that. Yeah, that's my thoughts exactly. Although you got to remember, that's the inside. Outside, where they have a plants, that is generally quite a large proportion of their shop. It's just because it's outside, I think we sometimes forget that is still their shop.
We could start an Instagram page on this where people take photos of I hate this in the garden centre at this rate.
That's not, I get in trouble when I do this. So
no,
I
said that. That's my opinion, not yours.
Yeah. Actually, take pictures as the season progresses. You'll be amazed at what you achieve if you look back at them. Yes, I agree with that. I remember looking back on my allotment when I first took it on and how far it's changed. I mean, I've been there 5 years now. How it's nearly 6 years. How it's changed in that time. What I started with, weeds were up here. The weeds were high. There was raspberry. It was just a mess. And I remember I cleared it all, and it grew back within a couple of weeks. And I knew then I was in for a tough time.
It's also double the size now.
It's also double the size now, because I took on the next plot. But yeah, I think there's something to say for when you first get an allotment plot. If Hayley's still watching, she's just taken ours. Before you do anything, take a picture so you can always remind yourself of where you started. Won't they just have a go at you then?
Is that related to the allotment?
Won't they just, they might, possibly the allotment committee. They might have a go at you, but if you can get enough people on your side, if it is that much of a problem,
a valid reason,
the chances are, that's like the school bully saying, don't tell them because they'll come back and beat you up. You've got to make a stand, but you've got to be fair. And I think that's a key word I want to use here: fair, reasonable, but build up your case, try and get in a committee, vote them out. Generally speaking, the chairman, I believe, has to be voted in, or various things like that, and try and get it back to what it should be. I mean, I can think of so many examples I've heard of people being bullied on allotments by committee members. A friend of mine had it once, actually, up in Horsham, and he ended up going on to the committee members and didn't get a guy who was doing the bullying kicked off, but he certainly learned a lesson. I'll put it like that.
If you think something's wrong, you need to say something, because other people will probably feel the same way.
Yeah.
It's never normally just one person who thinks something's wrong.
No. Ian Beddoes saying, don't forget Christmas and birthday cards. Yep, they're always in a garden centre and overpriced. I didn't say that, did I?
But they do very nice cards.
They can do, yeah. Amanda, well done. I love that idea. What was your idea? That's the trouble with this. It's about.
I only popped in to mention that I can't leave.
Yeah, now you're stuck in here. Oracle, some people are on site look worse off than. Some people on our site look worse off than they started, and I think that's often. I think that's often because they come into an allotment thinking it's going to be easy, not quite aware just how much work it is looking after an allotment. It is a lot of work. I'm down there a lot of time, aren't I?
But the clue's in the name. Allotment.
Aye, good. They're very clever. Very clever.
A lot of work and an allotment.
It is a lot of work, an allotment, and I don't think. And I think Garden Media is actually guilty of this. We have a tendency to glamorize it and make it look easy or look it better than what it actually is, which is where YouTube channels are fantastic for this, because they actually show what it's really like.
We had this conversation
We-
about Monty Don because I was like, well, he does it all himself. And you looked at me and started laughing.
I'm going to get in trouble with revealing secrets there. Yeah, Monty Don, you watch him on Gardener's World.
Well, I don't know anything about gardening, so I just assumed he was a solo.
Yeah.
But I didn't realise how big things were
Yeah.
in his garden.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a big garden. There's no way he could look after it himself. And it's made for TV. It's done in a way that he's a presenter. It makes it look like he's doing all the work because it's TV. But there's no way he could do all that. And that's a reality of this sort of thing. Gone right off on a tangent here, haven't we?
Sorry.
Jen says it was the Instagram page. That was a good
I
one.
suddenly dawned on that afterwards,
Yeah.
about 5 minutes later.
Or a hashtag.
I'm not starting it.
Yeah. Hayley is saying she's going to take a photo to see where she started with her allotment. I think that's absolutely. You'll be surprised just how often you get, oh God, I'm not getting anywhere. And you go back and look at that, what you started with, and you suddenly realise, yeah, I've came a long way.
That's the same with anything, though. You don't often realise.
Yeah, I'd agree. Bullies are often a pain in everyone's life. That's why you've got to make a stance. You've got to do it the right way, but you've got to make a stance. It's not nice, I know, but it does. Turbo Stream, I'm lucky that my site is run by a really nice bunch of people and welcomed me as a new plot holder.
Oh, that's nice.
I've got to admit, our plot is the same. They're really nice people on ours. They've always been welcoming. You've got to stick to the rules, of course, but even some of my neighbours don't always stick to the rules. But it's a community. It is a community that we have down here. And on the whole, most allotment sites are pretty good people. It's just that odd story that I do hear of where it's not so coming up of roses, shall we say. Ian Meadows, I have enough trouble just looking after the garden, don't we all? Don't we all? You have chickens on there and you have no garden.
Or kitchen if you let them
or kitchen if you let them in by accident. Amanda, me too, Turbo Stream. My site and plot neighbours are wonderful. I'm very, very lucky. Knowledge Quest, who asked this question about the bullies, been to the council, they posed to the devolved association and nothing has been done, as they, in business terms, in bed together and been there over 20 years on the committee. The thing is, they're not going to be there forever. Now, they may have been there for 20 years, and I'm going to sound, I don't want to sound uncaring. There's a guy on my allotment site who, he's been there for 20 years. Lovely bloke. Quite often chat to him. He came up to me a couple of weeks ago. I think I told you about this. And he's been told that he's dying. And that's really, really sad. Really sad. But going on what I want to say to Knowledge Quest, these people are not going to be there forever. You keep at it. All the time they can think they can beat you. Just got to get on with it and do your best. And when they go, you move on and get nicer people in there. Especially if it is voted in people.
It does make you think, have they done that to the previous person in your plot?
It does.
And the previous person before that?
Yeah. Turbo Stream is saying to Hayley, I would start by creating a compost area. That way all the weeds can go in there and start rotting down. Yeah, that's a good thing. I think the compost areas, when we spoke about this nursery, the first thing I said is get a compost area in there, didn't it?
Yeah, I was talking to my dad about it.
Yeah. Jen's Allotment Adventures. My site is great. Our allotment secretary always has time to help. On a whole, I do think most allotments are pretty good. The people who run it are pretty good. The secretaries are pretty good. It just takes one person though. It just takes one person to run it for everyone. Stuart Jackson is off. Speak next week. Time for me to go and do the watering. Thanks for a great show again. Yeah.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. We'll be closing up soon anyway, as we are approaching the end of this hour and a half that this show goes on for now. But we'll be back, like I say, next Sunday. She's going to be back in here. she's going to be sharing some photos of this nursery and just discussing the waste that goes on and things like that.
Am I now?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. But we will have a cooking thing on as well.
Oh, good.
That would do some strawberry jam.
Can I eat that?
You can eat that, yes.
No, as in like while sitting here? Because your
Yeah.
jam's good.
Yeah, that's the idea. Ian is asking, is Amanda waiting to get the car out so she can get you a takeaway? No, she's off to a party.
I'm not off to a party.
She's
That's
off to
your friend's
socials. Rotten eyes everywhere, Richard. Yeah, there are rotten people out there in every form of life, but they are a minority.
Don't
And
let it put you off.
Don't let it put you off. You know, I've always said I want this thing to be a positive place, and I want to try and keep the positivity rolling. So it is always sad to hear things don't always go to plan, and unfortunately that is life. But let's keep positive. We can beat them. We can just be positive. That's my positive hour for the week.
God, I'm in for an interesting week then, if that's the start of it.
That's the start of it. Yeah. I'm hoping for quite a week at work this week. It ain't going to happen, is it?
No.
Anyway, right, 8 minutes to go. If you want to zap yourself in, I will add the link in the comments right now. It's coming on and should be appearing any second now. Or you can call in on 07307 135 174. Just to finish us off for the last few minutes. Amanda, I've got something to ask if you've noticed. Have you noticed the peonies are in flower that I got you?
The ones by the veggie pod?
Yes.
Yes, I have.
Bloody hell, you've actually noticed something.
Yes, mainly because I had a chicken yelling at me that it wanted something.
Oh, right.
2 days in a row while standing by the veggie pod.
While standing by the veggie pod.
They're pink, aren't they?
Yeah.
See?
Yeah. Knowledge to gather evidence is difficult. They ban cameras on site or folk get evicted. How would they know? Well, technically, there's no law. If you're in a public place, you are legally entitled to have, there's no law stopping you from filming. But if you're gathering evidence and you can do it discreetly, how would they know? The fact that they ban it tells me they've got something to hide. Yeah. Oracle is asking, what about the party, Richard? Any developments? Honestly, I haven't seen the person who offered the use of a field for a while. We figured out we couldn't do it here in our house because our garden's probably a bit too small, and the chickens would probably tell everyone off anyway. So I'm working on it, but with everything going on with COVID at the moment, and I know some people were looking to travel over from Ireland as well. I'm a little worried that all the rules might suddenly change without any notice, and I don't want anybody to waste their money. So definitely next year, definitely 2022, when I know, well, I'm pretty certain 2022 will be over the COVID thing. So I'm pretty certain we can do it. I'm just a little worried about 2021 still, even though I'm very confident we're coming out of it. Oh, I've got to stop drinking coffee on a show. Yeah, that's where I stand with this party barbecue type thing. I still want to do it. It'd be great to have everyone, and we'll do a live stream while doing the party sort of thing. Just to, why not? Why wouldn't we? I know everyone watching would be there, but there's people that couldn't be. It's just we got to find somewhere to hold it. We got to make sure it's done safe.
We can do 2 meter distancing in our garden. Thinking about it.
No, we probably couldn't do 2 meter distancing in our garden. A million and one things that it's although Ian has come up with a good hire a motor museum for a party, just like we did we didn't do, but yeah.
I know a few abandoned buildings, but I can't. It might be not the best thing.
No, we've got yeah. What about seeing if a farmer would rent a field for a weekend of camping? Well, that's what I'm kind of looking at. A farm that would rent a field for a weekend of camping is what I think would probably work quite well. But most farms will probably have food growing in it at the moment, or if it's a weekend camping thing. Oh, mind you, that might not be a bad idea. A campsite, that might be another option.
Yeah, but I'm not sure that's going to work this year because I think a lot of places are booked.
Yeah, that's the other trouble. Places are booked. So I'll keep my eye out. If anything changes, I will let you know. But
I think it should be Veg Fest 2022.
Veg Fest 2022. There we go. That's something to think about. Anyway, it's down. If it wasn't for COVID, it would be so much easier. I think everyone would say that at the moment.
Well, we would have planned it by now.
We would have planned it by now. Yeah. Well, that's just something to look forward to. What I kind of want to do is get like a band playing as well, so we got a bit of entertainment. The band that I want to hire.
I now think this is definitely turning to Veg Fest.
Veg Fest. And so after June, May, hay would be off. So there we go. There's that. Oh, Margaret, who's my stepmother, asked Pam. They have a huge camping field and a barn and a toilet. Okay, Pam, Spam, as we call them. Who's?
We didn't need to say that.
I don't think they're watching. So okay, yeah, there we go. We have an option that I hadn't thought of. I'll give Dad and Margaret a call later anyway. But Oracle does say 2022 sounds good to me. I think 2022 is going to be more likely purely because of COVID. I'm going to give everyone more of a chance to work something out and work through all the details.
Instead of a last minute chaos.
Yeah. Would we get a star attraction like the Rich Brothers, or at the very least Skinny Jean? Well, who knows? Maybe Adam Frost. Who knows? I doubt it. But Skinny Jean, we would probably also turn up. He wouldn't miss that. Well, he would actually think about it.
Then you could turn it into a 24-hour crazy podcast session.
Yeah, I got lots. Yeah, lots of ideas. The SPB band is booked out. Oh, that's a shame. We'll find somebody else. Apparently, that there is a bar too. This is okay.
We're talking to you later when I go out.
Yeah. Right. Well, that is it for this evening's show. We've had unexpected guests. We've had a lot of conversation, and VegFest 22 is coming into the planning. Thank you so much for your ideas on time-saving tips. Let's get rid of that one, and we'll get rid of that one as well. And also for the debate about growing, the debate about petrol and battery lawnmowers. Adrian's just said, Richard, so you have connections with Coombs. That sort of area, I'll figure it out at a later date. Ian Meadows knows a good George Formby singer, and it's a wedding venue. So there we go. We got ideas, but I'll work this out. Although Knowledge Questers came up with a good one, ideal band, the Wurzels. Absolutely, yeah. If we can get them, that'd be great. Anyway, I've got to go let her out, so I should probably shut off the show and close up. Thank you so much for joining me again. Both of us will be back next week. We're this waste in this nursery. I'm going to try not to get off my high horse, but I can't promise anything. You take care. Keep your photos coming in. If you can send me videos, great. Keep us informed. You look after yourselves. Back same time, same veg place, same veg time. And somewhere here, where is it? Ah, there it is.